Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel. We continue with David, King Mashiach. This one is called The Crown. David merited the eternal crown. The Rambam in The Ways of Kings, chapter 1, writes, Hilchot Melachim is called. When a king is appointed, he is anointed with oil reserved for this purpose, as seen in 1 Samuel 10:1. And Samuel took the vial of oil and poured it on his head and kissed him. And he said, Indeed, the Lord has anointed you to be a ruler over his inheritance. So you recall, I think it was last class, we were talking about he tried to pour it on his brothers, but the oil did not leave the vial. But with David, it popped out and it flew over there on his head, and it hardened and became like a crown. So it was, the Lord really did it almost himself. Once a king is anointed, he and his descendants are granted the monarchy until eternity. For the monarchy is passed down by inheritance, as said in Deuteronomy 17:20. So that his heart will not be haughty over his brothers, and so that he will not turn away from the commandment, either to the right or to the left, in order that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his sons among Israel. If the king leaves only a young son, the monarchy should be held for him until he matures, as Yehoiada did for Yoshiao. He was 8 years old when he took the throne. So in other words, he kind of has to grow up over there until he has a basic understanding, and then slowly but surely. The order of inheritance of the monarchy is the same as the governing of the inheritance of property. An older son is given precedence over a younger one, unless God specifically chooses one, right? Not only the monarchy, but all other positions of authority and appointments in Israel are transferred to one's children and grandchildren as inheritance forever, because God chooses that line. We're not talking about voting and whatever's going on with the whole Western thing, with the Greek culture. We're talking about according to the laws of God as taken directly over here from Deuteronomy. So the above applies if the knowledge and the fear of God of the son is equivalent to that of his ancestors. You see, that's the only way that they could continue. In other words, if you have the fear of God just like your father did, what your father had, you will have, and it will grow from there. But if not, that's where it ends. So in other words, it's not like, okay, let's put this God-forsaken kid on the throne and he'll do whatever he wants. It doesn't work like that. If his fear of God is equivalent to theirs, but not his knowledge, he should be granted his father's position and given instruction. However, under no circumstances should a person who lacks the fear of God be appointed to any position in Israel, even though he possesses much knowledge. So like we said, this shows us that whatever is going on here today has nothing to do with God and Torah. Not at all, not even a little bit, zero. We've shown you again, time and again, from how to go out into war, a city besieged and everything with David. What goes on today has nothing to do with Torah rule in Israel at all, zero. So, if the world's got a problem with Jews based on how the secular government is running its show, that shows you it's anti-Semitism, because the way the government is, the entire structure of everything, this whole voting system, right? It has nothing to do with Torah. Zero. Okay? Why are we here then? We are here because Jews need to be in the land of Israel. Sure, we got to pay taxes. It is the price you pay, but we're waiting, right? Soon. Almost there. Okay. Once David was anointed king, he acquired the crown of kingship. Afterwards, the kingship belonged to him and to his male descendants forever, as said in 2 Samuel 7:16. And your house and your kingdom shall be confirmed forever before you. Your throne shall be established forever. End of story. That's it. Nevertheless, his acquisition of the monarchy was conditional, applying only to the righteous among his descendants, like we said. As Psalms 132:12 states, if your sons keep my covenant And this, my testimony, which I shall teach them, also their sons will sit on your throne forever. This is conditional, right? Like we said, sure, the Torah was given to us, the land was given to us, but we are stewards of it. If we mistreat the land, we will be exiled, just as it happened in the times of Babylon, right? Same thing also with the Torah. Yes, we're given the Torah, but if we do not live according to the Torah, then what's going to happen? Read the Shema, okay? Despite this condition, God assured David that the monarchy would never be taken from his descendants forever. As said in Psalms 89, 31 to 38, we'll read a few of the passages. If his children will forsake my Torah and cease walking in my statutes, I will punish their transgression with the rod and their sins with plagues. And we saw that actually happened. There were plenty of wicked kings from Judah as well. Nevertheless, I will not utterly remove my grace from him. His throne shall be established forever. In other words, just for a little bit, remove all the bad apples, and there we go. What can we see from this is that God's word is eternal, in the sense that David's line will always have the crown exclusively, and those who transgress among his descendants shall be cut off from Israel. End of story. God doesn't show favor, okay? He does not. If you do what you need to do, that's great, no matter who you are. God, and vice versa. God has no problem removing the kingship as he did with Saul and giving it to his better, to David. But there is no better than David, and he is God's choice, and then also the people's choice. This is not to say that there were not bad apples along the way, like we said, but ultimately it will exclusively be the line of David that will sit on the throne. As we discussed in previous teachings regarding the importance of a salt covenant, we just discussed that. As said in 2 Chronicles 13:5, you should know that the Lord, the God of Israel, gave the kingdom to David over Israel forever, to him and to his sons with a covenant of salt. The wicked ones will be removed, and the righteous ones will rise. This being said, we can see time and again how David merited to wear the crown, he and his descendants after him, forever. This means exclusively from father to son in the lineage of David, and not through the mother. Okay? David's mother was not from Judah. She was from the tribe of Dan. It goes by the father. The tribe goes by the father. Today, the Jewishness goes by the mother. If your father is a Jew, but your mother is not a Jew, you are not a Jew. You might have Jewish blood, but you still have to go through an entire conversion, you see? If the mother is a Jew, then you're a Jew. But from the tribes, especially from who's going to be Mashiach? One whose father's father, exclusively father to son, going all the way back to David until this very day. All right? In Masechet Avodah Zarah 44a, it says the following. It begins with the Ammonite idol called Malcham. It is written with regard to the Ammonite idol in 2 Samuel 12:30. And he took the crown of Malcham off his head, and its weight was a talent of gold. And in it was a precious stone, and it was set on David's head, and the spoil of the city he brought forth in great abundance. So it says, Kikar Zahav ve'even yakara. But we ask the question, is it permitted for David to wear the crown? Isn't it an object of idol worship, and therefore under the category of items from which deriving benefit is prohibited? Good question. Rav Nachman says Ittai the Gittite arrived and revoked its status as an object of idol worship. The Gemara discusses David's crown. The verse states, and its weight was a talent of gold. As a talent is a very heavy weight, that's 28.8 kilos, 63 pounds. Okay, so one of the big plates in the gym, that's 20 kilos. Very, very heavy, right? The Gemara asks, how could David place it on his head? Heavy is the head, right? Rav Yehuda says that Rav says what is meant is not that it was actually placed on his head, but rather it was fit to rest on David's head. It fit, meaning like fit not becoming, but rather literally it fit the size of his head. It was almost like, oh, hey, how did this happen? We'll see. Rabbi Yossi son of Rabbi Hanina, says, there was a lodestone in it that would hold it up, i.e., from which it was suspended. David sat and placed it on his head, giving the appearance that he was wearing it. Rabbi Eleazar said, what is meant is not that it weighed a full talent of gold, but rather that there was a precious stone in it that was worth a talent of gold. By the way, a talent of gold, kikal zahav, 28.8, today would be worth $4.3 million. The Gemara asks with regard to the verse in Psalms 119:56, this came to me because I kept your precepts. Zot hayta li ki pikudecha natzarti. What is it saying? The Gemara answers that this is what the verse is saying as reward for the fact that I kept your precepts. This crown was a testimony for me that I'm fit to be king. What exactly was its testimony? Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, it was that David would place the crown on his head on the spot where one dons the tefillin, right here, and it fit him perfectly. So you remember we discussed, was it last week or a week before that? Rabbi Yoshua Kohen Gadol, right? With the removal of the skin. So right at that place over there, so wait a minute, is that where he placed the crown? How could he place the crown there if that is where you wear the tefillin? Now, I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of people, not too many, but enough that I've seen, they wear tefillin all day long. Technically, you're supposed to wear tefillin all day long. Yeah, you got to sit with those things over there. But that means there are no impure thoughts. There's no doing anything that has to do other than holiness and prayer and learning. That's it. At nighttime, you take tefillin off because you're not supposed to wear it at night. But I've seen people, they wear it all day. They even walk with it in the streets in Mea Sharim when there's no, there's nothing bad to look at around there. In any case, this is what they did. So the Gemara asks, how could he have worn the crown if he was wearing tefillin? Wasn't he required to don tefillin? Rabbi Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak says, there is enough space on the part of the head that is fit for donning two sets of tefillin. One and then two. So it's like one strap and then two straps. Now, many people also have two sets of tefillin that they either put them on together, so you'll see 1, 2, and there's also different sizes of the boxes. There's like small, which is like really small, and there's medium, and then there's like massive, like big chunks. The people that put them on are usually the small boxes so they can fit. It's all the same. It's all the same Holy Scripture in there. It's just whatever's more comfortable or more convenient. So if you're going to put on two, you're going to get two small ones. So they either put them on together or after the Shmoneh Esrei, they take one set off and they put on another set. So it's usually the tefillin that they have and then Rabbeinu Tam, the grandson of Rashi. I don't do that, not because it's wrong, God forbid. This is what you're supposed to do, but I'm not there yet with the two sets of tefillin. Okay? It's kind of like a tradition from home and you could take it upon yourself. I'm not there that I take that responsibility upon myself. Okay? That's it. I'm being very honest. Okay. Similarly, it is said, and I'm not doing anything wrong either. Okay? Okay. Similarly, it is stated with regard to Yoshiyahu. Then they brought out the king's son and put upon him the crown, nezel, and the testimony, va'edut, and made him king. 2 Chronicles 23:11. Nezel, that is the crown. What was the testimony, the edut? Rav Yehuda says, it is a testimony for the progeny of the house of David that anyone who is fit for kingship, the crown fits him properly, meaning perfectly, and anyone who is unfit for kingship, the crown does not fit him properly. Meaning, you could have a 63-pound chunk of gold, right? But if you are worthy and of the house of David, then it will fit you. As we conclude with the final section of this Talmud, similarly, the verse states, now Adoniah, son of Chagit, exalted himself. You can see where this is going, right? Saying, I will be king. 1 Kings 1:5. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says the term exalted himself teaches that he sought to have the crown fit him, but it did not fit him. In other words, if it doesn't fit you spiritually, then physically it will not fit you. And in other words, it will actually physically manifest or not. Now, there are different kinds of crowns, right? Some physical, some spiritual, some metaphorical, and some have nothing to do with what we might adorn on our heads. So at this point, we're speaking about the crown of age. There is a crown of age. It speaks of this in Bereshit Rabbah, Chaye Sarah. Abraham was old, Zaken. Ve'Avraham Zaken. Zaken also, this is a beard, this is Zakan. Zaken, Zakan, exactly the same letters, just different punctuation. So a Zakan is attributed also with age. So it says Avraham Zaken. This one acquired Zekana, 2 worlds. Okay? This one over here, Kana, acquired. Zakan, Zaken, Zekana. Okay. Zikna is also age. So Zekana he acquired. There were 3 who were crowned with old age and length of days, and 3 of them were originators of dynasties. Now listen, Abraham, Joshua, and David. Whatever you're thinking right now, great. That is excellent. I hope you're thinking that, because now we're going to be discussing it. Abraham was the originator of the patriarchs, right? He was the Avraham Avinu. Joshua was the originator of the monarchy of the tribe of Ephraim. As it states, from Ephraim came those whose roots are in Amalek. Judges 5:14. This refers to Joshua. Who did Moses pick to fight Amalek for the first time? Joshua is going to go fight Amalek. And why? As we know, the moment Joseph was born, that's when Jacob knew that he could defeat Esav, because Joseph is the Satan of Esav, and Ephraim specifically for Amalek. Okay? David was the originator of the monarchy of the tribe of Judah. You see, we're seeing these things. Okay, that question is still there? Excellent. Rabbi Acha said, you may meet a person who appears old, but does not actually have length of days, or one who has length of days, but does not appear old. But here, regarding Abraham, the elderly appearance corresponded to the length of days, and the length of days corresponded to the elderly appearance. It was both. Advanced in years, it says, V'Avraham zaken ba bayamim. If you read Genesis 24:1, it says, and Abraham was old, advanced in days, and the Lord had blessed Abraham with everything. V'Avraham zaken ba bayamim, v'Adonai berech et Avraham bakol. Bakol means everything. Some say even that Abraham had a daughter and her name was Bakol, with everything. Oddly enough, what is it, 25, 30 years ago, I actually knew somebody who her name was Bakol. I'm like, buckle, like a shoe buckle? She goes, no, and she quotes this verse, Hashem berech Avraham Bakol, and if you read some of the commentators, it says he had a daughter named Bakol, with everything. So I'm like, oh, Buckle. And so that was her name, like legit. Anyway, fun stuff. So this is what we see over here. So here regarding Abraham, it meant both length of days and an elderly appearance. Advanced in years, ba bayamim, he gained entry, ba. Ba is through it or her in the female tense. In 2 worlds. He gained entry to 2 worlds. Ba bayamim. Rabbi Abba said he entered ba through it, through her, through the direct gate to the world to come. Rabbi Yitzchak said Abraham had entered ba in those days. In this regard, it was written before the bad days came. Ecclesiastes 12:1. Now let's see exactly what this means. Abraham lived till 175. Oh, that's okay. That's pretty advanced. Not bad. Joshua to 110. Respectable, right? Especially in today's age. David, 70. This is, I hope, what you were thinking about. Wait a minute. David didn't have length of days. What? Now we're going to be discussing what is length of days. Okay. Does David fit the length of days description? Not in the standard sense, right? And yet, we discussed it here before, the concept of one's half-life, chatzi yamav. There's a concept throughout the Torah, the commentators talk about, that if a person does a certain thing, a certain transgression, then he's going to die b'chatzi yamav, half his days. What did we say is half his days? 35 years of age, right? So this is not in the standard sense we're talking about. Half his days, that's half his life, 35. times 2, right? Then we're talking about 70. So these 35 years of age, showing us that the standard is actually David. Joshua was slated for 120 years, but was granted 110 years, because we discussed he dragged his feet in the destruction of the Amorites. God said, the moment you're done defeating the Amorites, you're going to be gathered to your people. So Joshua took his time. Because he took his time, God took away the thing, as opposed to Moses. Says the moment you're done with Midian, you're going to be gathered to your people. Immediately Moses commanded and says, go out and go to war with Midian. No delay over there, right? Okay. And Abraham was slated for 180 years. But God removed 5 years so he should not see Esau, his grandson, go off the derech. He spared it from him. He lived a full and complete and perfect life. The 5 years would only save him from pain that he did not need to see. But David was able to complete his rectification, like we have been discussing and like we will discuss, i.e. his job, the reason for his creation, within his 70 years, which means apparently 70 years is enough. If you're David, like we said a few classes ago, if David was 100, he would have done a rectification for the entire world, those extra 30 years. Thereby granting him the crown of Zikna, David, the crown of Zikna, age, maturity, and length of days, the days he needed to fulfill his purpose. Nice, huh? It was by the merit of David that Israel honored God. So remember this. It was by the merit of David that Israel honored God. In Midrash Tehillim, chapter 24, Psalms 24, it says the following of the opening verse. Of David a song, the land and the fullness thereof are the Lord's, the world and those who dwell therein. LeDavid mizmor laHashem haaretz u'meloah, tevel veyoshvei ba. Tevel is the top part of the 7, which is where we're at. There is a parable of a king who had a son in a city, and the people of the city honored him by saying that he was the king's son, in other words, recognition, and the king honored him as well. Eventually, the king sold his city to another. The criminals began to commit offenses against the king's son. He went to the king for help. After some time, the king returned to the city, and the son was honored as the king's son once again. He told them, now I am his son. The king in the parable is God, the city is the land, and the son is David. All the days that the land belonged to God, always, obviously, but hear what I'm saying. They honored David because he went out and came in before them. He did the work for them. In other words, he was a king, he was a ruler, he was a shepherd, and so on. But what did God do? He sold the land, as says in Ezekiel 30, verse 12, and I will make the rivers dry and sell the land into the hand of the wicked. Obviously, this is only for a time until the land was redeemed, purified, and then Israel slowly but surely started coming back. The criminals began to commit offenses against the king's son, as said in 1 Kings 12:16, and the people returned the word to the king, saying, what share have we in David? But when God buys back his land for his son, they will return to God and seek David, their king, as it says in Hosea 3:5. Afterward, the children of Israel shall return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. Therefore it is said, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. So, how do they honor God if it is said that they honored David? How does that work? What do you think David was doing every waking moment of every day? This in turn is the job of Mashiach. We're talking about David, King Mashiach, right? Don't worry, we'll get heavy into that stuff, but right now we're learning about the man. Mashiach doesn't do for you. Mashiach directs you so you can do for yourself. That is the job of Mashiach. David inspired Israel by example his entire life, and that is why today we learn from David, because from the 7 Ushpizim, David came last, receiving all the goodness from all the patriarchs, from Moses, from Aaron, from Joseph, and he was beaming with that. So we learn from David, humble beginnings too, the Lord's anointed, eternal anointed. So he inspired Israel by example. Throughout his life, he was given such honor by all who knew him, as said in Midrash Agadah Bereshit for chapter 35. As long as King David the righteous was alive, he was called king. And now King David was old and advanced in years. 1 Kings 1:1. And they called him my lord the king, and wise and angelic, as the woman of Tekoa said to him, my lord is wise like the wisdom of an angel of God. 2 Samuel 14:20. Similarly, Jonathan, son of Evyatar the priest, said to Adoniah, but our Lord King David has made Solomon king. 1 Kings 1:43. And Bathsheba said, may my Lord King David live forever. 1 Kings 1:31. And Nathan the prophet said to him, my Lord the king, you have said to Adoniah, shall be king after me. 1 Kings 1:24. Thus David had much honor, greatness, and splendor. This is not stam written over there. Okay? This is written exactly, very, very specific so we understand from everywhere. And these are quality people. Holds more weight. So, thus David had much honor, greatness, and splendor. So how does a person inspire others in such a way? Psalms 131:1. I love this one, so we're bringing this now again as an example. Remember this, okay? I need this every single day. So do you. A song of ascent by David. Of ascent. Let's see. How did that work? Okay. By David. Pay attention now. O Lord, my heart was not haughty. Fantastic. Let's start with that. You do that, Dayenu. That is enough. Nor were my eyes raised on high, and I did not pursue matters greater and more wondrous than I. That was the secret right there. You know what I'm saying? It's one step at a time. What's in front of you, I deal with this. Next, dealt with. What's in front of me, I deal with this. Not beyond, not the grass is greener. What I have right here, because this is where God placed me, and this is what he placed in front of me. I'm not going to try and get away from it. I'm going to work this problem, work this situation. This right here, this is my medicine that is prescribed for me, from the creator of all things, and I need to eat this right now, and it's going to be okay. Of this verse, the Zohar says in Parashat Mishpatim, King David said this, he was a great king, supreme over all kings and rulers from east to west, and yet it never entered his mind to turn from the right path. For he was ever humble before the Lord, meaning always. When he studied the Torah, he summoned up all his strength like a lion, and his eyes looked down at the same time to the earth out of awe to his Lord. And when he went about amongst the people, he displayed no haughtiness. This is my guy forever, no haughtiness. Hence he said, my heart is not haughty. Although I am a mighty king, nor mine eyes lofty, when I stand before you studying the Torah, and I do not walk in greatness or haughtiness when I go among my people. Now, if David was this humble, how much more so must we be, the ordinary people, the average Joe? And I, how lowly, and with what downcast eyes must I stand before the Holy King? Far be it from me to be puffed up when I deal with holy words of Torah. You see, true humility comes when you actually know before whom you stand. Da lifnei mi ata omed. Know before whom you stand. This is what our sages say in Pirkei Avot. The moment you begin, just a little bit, the moment you begin to get perspective as to who you are and who the creator of all things is, the moment you get but a glimpse of the infinite, a glimpse, because we have no understanding. We can learn, infinity. But like we said, we don't know what it means. We have nothing to compare it to. But the moment we get a glimpse of maybe what this means, you will have no choice but to be humbled. That's why you could see who's walking the street, who actually has a fear of God and who does not. Very simple. Again, going back to the big three, Abraham, Moses, and David. Abraham was alone in the world, knowing God because he searched him out among all his creation. So Abraham was the one that discovered God first in the world. Moses, who saw his gift as just that, a gift, who knew he stood because Abraham came before him. And David, who learned from them both. They beheld the infinite and realized their own existence was but a blip, as significant as they might have been at the time. And make no mistake, they are the reason, them going through their trials and overcoming and doing everything they did, that is the reason why the world is standing today. Yes, by God's design, of course. And yet, compared to the creator of all things, as Abraham said, I am ani afar va'efer, I am ash and dust. And Moses said, Nachenu ma, what are we? And David said, I am a worm, but not a man. These people were the closest to God, and that's why they knew exactly what they were talking about. He said in Psalms 144, O Lord, what is man that you should know him? The son of Enosh, Ben Enosh. It doesn't say the son of man, Ben Enosh. Enosh is mortal. That you should consider him. Man is like a breath. His days are as a fleeting shadow. When a person realizes this and can internalize it, it changes you. It has to change you. Remember, you want to do a test right now? If you have not become a better human being, not more pious or righteous according to the standards of the Torah, if you have not become a better human being to your fellow man and you study Torah, then there is something wrong with your Torah, because that is not what the Torah teaches. Not at all. And when they walk among the people, they stand out. These individuals who actually have that understanding, who have that peace, who have that oneness, they stand out not because they want to the contrary, but because their energy is different. They project truth because they rid themselves of lies. And the souls of others gravitate to that light of truth, because this world is so dark right now. Today, if you do a favor for something small, if you hold a door for somebody, people look at you like you're a superhero. I'm like, wow, this is the state of the world that we've come to. If somebody helps somebody, I don't know how it is in the rest of the world. Obviously, back in the day, New Yorkers definitely used to help each other out, especially after 9/11. Everybody was all like patriotic and come here, brother, and all that stuff. Not so much in the later years. But in any case, in Israel, the beautiful thing here is we call each other brother. Achi, ma matzav achi, how you doing, achi? Somebody fall, achi, tapseder, brother, you okay? And that's how it is. And I kind of love that. I really do love that. Because when Israelis here are in trouble, we kind of gather around. If somebody really falls, car accident, people just start to run. Because it's achi, achi, achi. And that's what it is. That's the first thing that comes out, right? Anyway, it's just a beautiful thing to behold. It kind of makes you, it reminds you who you are. When you see strangers running up, calling you brother, and really meaning it and caring. Wow. It's very humbling. Anywho. Okay. Now, when a person like Abraham, Moses, or David connects to the master of the universe, these individuals, right? The creator of the world, because they are such powerful conduits, then the world would be placed beneath their feet as it was. Midrash Agadah for Bilam's prophecies of Israel. It says in Numbers 24:7, water will flow from his wells, and his seed shall have abundant water. His king shall be raised over Agag, and his kingship exalted. Vezara'o b'mayim rabim, and his seed in many waters. That King Mashiach will come forth from Israel and rule many waters, that is, the nations. Though the Edomites preceded the kingdom of Israel, Edomites is the Western world, the whole Christian world, that whole setup over there. As said in Genesis 36:31, and these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the children of Israel. This is not by the way this is written. This is on purpose. But this will not last forever, as we know. Rather, when the reign of Agag, who is Agag? He's the Amalekite king from Edom. Amalek came from Edom. They are the worst of Edom. They are the head of the nations that came against Israel. So when the reign of Agag would cease, Saul would be the one to do it. He would come and take it. And when Saul's rule would end, the reign of David, the son of Jesse, would be raised on high. Since the Holy One Blessed be He established a covenant with him, that his sons would all be kings, and they would rule over Edom, as said in 1 Chronicles 18:13, and he placed governors in Edom, and all the Edomites were vassals, servants to David, and the Lord made David victorious wherever he went. So in other words, as it was, so it will be. No future over there. As we can see from this series, there is no shortage of merit ascribed to David. He was an incredible human being, a humble man, a defender of truth, and the choice leader amongst God's people. Not that he didn't struggle. He struggled hard, but that's what made him great. But the one thing that got David to be where he was not necessarily a gift that God gave him, because then what good would that do anyone? Whenever things are handed over to people without earning it, it always becomes rotten. See the entirety of socialism. See Christianity, right? When you are promised things and you are told that the work has already been done for you, what motivation do you have? Keep your head down, do what you're told, stay in your box, don't question the system, do not use your mind, just be happy with what you are given. Believe me, with that kind of understanding, when you are tested, and you will crumble instantly. This is the very opposite of how God told Israel to live. There is no box. Use your mind. Ask questions for the betterment of how you can serve God. The one thing that got David to where he is the same thing that all Israel not only have access to, but the responsibility to know and to follow and to live by. That is the Torah. And that we will already delve into, God willing, in the next class. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of the week. See what comes up. Have a Shabbat Shalom. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.